Okay, in this next section, we are going to analyze pieces. Now, this one I have on the screen here, Canon in D, is one that you've probably heard 1,000 times. You've heard this song. It's sometimes referred to as the wedding song because it gets played at a lot of weddings. So, before we dive into that, I just want to explain what we're trying to accomplish with doing these analysis. When we do an analysis, what we're really doing is we're going through and we're kind of dissecting the piece. We're kind of pulling it out and looking at what the kind of skeleton of the piece is. What are the kind of fundamental principles governing the piece? So what we're going to do is we're going to take all the notes on the page and we're going to try to put chord names on all of them. Now, some of those notes aren't going to get a chord name and they're not going to fit into a chord, which is one of the things we're going to explore in this section when we're looking at these pieces is a thing called non-chord tones. And that means when there's a melody, not every note of that melody fits into the chord. And it takes a little bit of practice to kind of figure out what notes fit into the chord and what don't, what are what we call non-chord tones. So we'll look at that after we look at our first piece here, because there are a couple in Canon in D here. There's kind of a lot of them. Like every piece has a lot of non-chord tones. If a piece consisted of only chord tones, it would be pretty boring. So that's one of the things that I want to accomplish in this section. Another thing is just to get in your head that when we do an analysis of a piece, some of it, frankly, is a matter of opinion. You know, there might be situations where I might say, you know, this is a, 4 chord, but if it doesn't have all of its notes or if it's in a weird context or something like that, they are debatable. And this is why there's a lot of books about music theory, because people have different ideas about ways to analyze different things. There are a couple different schools of thought, and we're not going to spend a ton of time, at least not in this class, going into the different schools of thought on how to analyze pieces. But just keep in mind that it can, in some cases, not in all cases, and frankly not in most cases, but in some cases, what we call a chord is debatable. You know, it can be seen a couple different ways sometimes. So I say that so that you don't get in your head that if I analyze here, Canon in D, and then you look up somewhere else and they give a different chord name to something, that can be okay. That's just a different way of analyzing it and looking at it. I doubt we'll have any of those in Canon in D because it's pretty cut and dry, but you never know. Okay, so with that, let's dive in and let's analyze Pachelbel's Canon in D.